Have you ever been fixing one thing and suddenly another broken part lands right in front of you? I was sitting here, soldering a few lithium-ion cells, when I received this broken DeWalt drill battery. From the outside, it does not look too bad. But when I measured it, the voltage was 0 volts. So, should we repair it or open it and see what can still be reused inside? I will open this drill battery first. With an old battery, I do not want to guess too quickly. Looking inside can tell us whether the problem is in the cells, the circuit board, or just the contact points. The case is open now. I will remove each part and check it carefully. Inside a drill battery, there are not only battery cells. There is also a circuit board, metal contact plates, wires, and the case that holds everything in place. It looks small, but every part has its own job. Before removing the circuit board, I need to separate each solder joint first. This part has to be done slowly, because pulling too hard or breaking a contact leg can make the next check much harder. I put the circuit board aside. The part I want to check next is the lithium-ion cells inside this battery pack. If they are still usable, they may be reused for another small DIY project. I am holding 4 cells in my hand, but I plan to use only 3 of them from this pack. 3 lithium-ion cells connected in series can make a battery pack around 12 volts, which is useful for many small DIY projects. Now I will connect 3 battery cells in series. With lithium-ion cells, this part should not be rushed, because too much heat can affect the cell. In this video, 2 steps were already done earlier. I lightly roughened the battery terminals with fine sandpaper, then added a small amount of flux to the soldering points. At the step you see on screen, I quickly tinned the battery terminal. The soldering iron needs to be hot enough for the solder to stick quickly, but the tip only touches the cell for about 1 to 2 seconds, then lifts away. The wire is also tinned first. When the wire is placed on the tin point, I only heat it until the 2 layers of solder melt together, then hold it still for a few seconds until it cools. It sounds simple, but this is the part that needs the most care. A spot welder is still the better method for battery cells. In this test, I work quickly, watch closely, and do not let heat stay on the cell for too long. After connecting the 3 cells in series, I use the multimeter to check the voltage of the pack. If the reading is around 12 volts, it means this battery pack is going in the right direction and can be used for the next step. I use heat shrink tubing to wrap the 3 cells together. Then, I use a heat gun to make the tubing shrink tightly around the pack. This step makes the battery pack neater, firmer, and helps keep the contact points from touching things randomly inside the project. Now I move to a few plastic parts. Here, I have a 48mm UPVC pipe end cap, a 110mm UPVC pipe end cap, a step drill bit, and an HSS twist drill bit. I use a pen and a ruler to mark the positions I need to work on these 2 plastic pieces. I will not say what it will become yet. Just watch how the parts start to appear. After marking the positions, I drill the marked spots. These plastic pieces look very ordinary, but in a DIY project, shaping the body can sometimes take the most time. If one hole is slightly off, the parts may not fit well later. Keep watching how I shape these two plastic pieces. Do not skip these small steps, because they will decide whether the later assembly fits neatly or not. I will only give a small hint. Today's project should be quite useful, and it may save a good amount of money compared with buying a similar tool from a store. Next, I have an old PVC pipe about 20 to 25 centimeters long. I will make a small rectangular hole on the pipe body. Can you guess what this small hole is for? I plan to install a switch here. At first glance, this handle part looks a little like a mini flashlight powered by 12 volts, right? But the story does not stop there. Some projects look very simple at the beginning and only reveal their real purpose after a few more parts are added. Now I assemble the last small parts into the handle section. Do not skip this part, because these small parts are closely connected to each other. One wire in the wrong place, one loose mounting point, or one switch sitting crooked can make the whole model work differently than expected. This is a high-speed brushed DC motor, powered by around 12 volts. At this point, some of you may have already guessed today's project. Yes, I am making a mini handheld cutting tool. This project cost me less than $5 and a few old parts. A similar small handheld tool from a store can cost around $80 to $100. Of course, this is only a small DIY test model, not a professional tool. Now watch as I assemble the parts together and get ready to test it in the workshop. This is the moment when we find out whether all the small details from the beginning really fit together. First, I will try cutting the end of a fully threaded hexagon. This is a clear test, because if the tool is too weak or not assembled firmly, the result will show right away. I will go slow, hold it steady, and watch how this mini cutting tool performs. After cutting, I will grind the cut area with this same mini handheld cutting tool. A good cut is not only about separating the material, the edge also needs to be cleaned up afterward. What do you think about today's DIY project? From a broken drill battery and a few old parts, we now have a pretty interesting mini cutting tool model to test in the workshop. If you enjoyed it, leave a comment below. Do not forget to like and subscribe to see the next projects.